evening and welcome to Information Please, your Peoria Public Library on the air, bring you information about your library and your community. And this evening my guest is Marilyn Joseph, who's a local author who's turned out another book, and I'm really excited to have her here and talk about it.
Thanks for the opportunity, Tricia.
Yeah, this is your fourth book.
That's correct.
Yes, and the other three, we've seen you at some of our author fairs and that kind of thing. So let's talk about this book, though. This one seems to me like it's a little different maybe than the others.
It's very different. As of right now, it is a standalone book.
Ah.
The other is a trilogy.
Right.
But this remains to be seen.
Uh-huh.
I'm getting a little bit of feedback on it, saying, well, tell me about where does this go at this part of the epilogue. And I'm saying I'm not sure yet.
I'm going to wait and see what happens.
Yes.
Well, here's the cover, and it's called More Than a Game. And so you've written about football, of all things. And why football?
It's my love.
Really?
I love football. When the season ends, I pretty much end. And now that we're gearing up, it's just very, very exciting time to schedule and to watch and to follow the progress, especially of your favorite team.
Oh, do you have a favorite team?
I do. And because I have a favorite team and everyone knows that team is the Green Bay Packers,
okay.
they will be able to identify Green Bay with the Omaha Stampeders in the book.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
that's the only team I'm giving away.
The only thing you're going to give away, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Well, how did you get the idea to write about football other than it's just something you enjoy?
It's something I enjoy, and I wanted to do a standalone, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity. I'm not 100% sure of my football knowledge. So for those that are reading it, I'm saying, was there a glitch? Was there an error? Only one so far.
Oh, good.
And that is the numbering of the jerseys. I had the rosters of both teams in the front, and apparently some players have specific numbers on their jerseys. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But in terms of why this book, I think it's my love of football.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Is this the idea for this book been with you for a long time, or is it a newer thought? Or?
I think after the trilogy, I started to think about it. And before I write, I think my characters through. You almost have to eat and sleep and drink them, fantasize a little bit about them, what their lives are like. So I decided I needed to develop the two main characters, more fully in More Than a Game than I had throughout my trilogy.
Okay.
And I was able to accomplish that in the first 2 chapters.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, when you talk to authors, everybody has a different method of writing. Mm-hmm. Some people very carefully outline everything and have extensive notes. Other people just sit down and say their characters are talking to them and it just flows. And do you have a specific method you use to write?
I do. It flows. I don't take notes. I do research. Obviously, my books are very heavily researched. But I also am not the kind of a person that will sit down and, like a Rawlings, write in my, write in the book. I will go to the computer and I will put in what I can for that day. The next day I will go and reread it, retool it a little bit, and then move on to the next part.
Okay.
And then occasionally go back and reread a whole chapter to make sure everything is in sync.
Yeah, making sure it works, yeah. Because I've heard of other writers who will write like a chapter and write another chapter and write another, and then they weave them together when they have a whole bunch of different little vignettes. I think that's what Diana Gabaldon does with her Outlander series I've read.
I think everyone has his or her own approach.
Yeah.
And I think this is natural for me to be able to think the characters through and then decide what the storyline is going to be, what will be pivotal, and where there might be a little drama, conflict. Conflict is important in a book, and then move from that point. But again, going to the computer and just putting it in.
Putting it in, getting
Yes.
it down. They always
That's
say that's
right.
the hard part, to just sit down and do it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I know we don't want to do any spoilers and give anything away, but you've got to tell us a little bit about the plot line in the story.
I have two main characters and two others, or I should say really three others, that are secondary. My two characters are Coach, he's a head coach, Mike Jacobs. And he is the coach of the Omaha Stampeders. Obviously a fictitious team,
Yes.
but in my mind, an actual team. And now we all know that.
What are their colors? I want to know their colors.
The Green Bay Packers. However, people are guessing, well, who are the Atlantic City Rollers? And I simply will not give that away. I say refer to the playoff bracket toward the Super Bowl 2015 and see who is missing from the playoff bracket and see which AFC team is missing. That's going to start to clue you in to a possible 16 teams. And then take a look at the characteristics of the coach of the Atlantic City Rollers. That will give you a better clue.
Okay.
You know, it's a team you love to love and a team you love to hate.
Okay.
And that is the essence of this.
Okay.
My two main characters, as I said, Coach Mike Jacobs, who is probably the finest head coach in the NFL, and a young lady by the name of Jenna Huddy, Huddy. And Jenna is the product of foster homes from the age of 6 until she's emancipated at 18. And what Jenna learned from all of that transition is that she cannot trust anyone. She has a very lonely, lonely life, even though she works in Atlantic City as a hostess at an upscale restaurant. Her life is lonely because she can't trust. Mike is lonely because his work schedule causes him very much to not be a very social person, very gruff but professional. And the secondary group of characters are from the Atlantic City Rollers. And the defensive coordinator, whose name is Jamie Longoria, is a very good defensive coordinator, but his job is in jeopardy. And a decision will be made about that at the end of the season. He needs to preserve that job. He needs to find out what Coach Jacobs' secrets are, what his plays are. We had Spygate in New England. We had Bountygate with the Saints. This is, excuse me, this is called Got Plays Gate, such as Got Milk, Got Plays Gate.
Okay.
And Jenna, because of problems that she has had financially, accepts the help of one of the shysters and goes to Omaha to meet Coach Jacobs, to get to know him, to get some answers to the questions that are going to be fed to her. But she does not know that the shysters are being paid to get that for Longoria.
Okay.
And so she goes under quite a facade. She determines that she will be an actuary because obviously Omaha is Mutual of Omaha. She will work at a home site for her actuary business. That home site is next door to the coach. And this is how she connects with him. She also decides that she is going to write a book on Italian cooking since she loves the culinary arts. And again, that is a fake book. Everything is a weave of deception. From the time she gets to Omaha and in a 10-week frame of time, virtually everything she says is a lie. And the deception is greater and greater and greater. Her instructions are, do not be seen there, and she is seen.
Okay.
And she is connected to Atlantic City. And then the NFL steps in with their investigators under the direction of Roger Goodell, the commissioner. And from that point, the investigation begins and Jenna runs. She has very little money. She doesn't know where to go. She settles on a place in Minnesota called Two Harbors. Subconsciously, it is because Mike has a boat there at the marina, and that is her security. In 10 weeks, the relationship becomes so strong, at least on her part. And she runs to Minnesota while the investigation is going on and all of the truth is revealed. This is all leading up to Super Bowl 49, and that's going to be in Glendale, Arizona. That is fact, 2015.
Okay.
And it just so happens that the two contenders are the Rollers and the Stampeders. And this all breaks a week before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So that is the essence of the story.
Okay. Should keep people on the edges of their seats or the edge of their stadium seat or whatever.
Well, the comments I'm getting are that the characters are well developed, that the book is tightly written, and that's a supreme compliment.
Oh, yes, yes.
To be told your book is very tight.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you like to read some from it?
Sure, certainly will,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
I marked a
give
couple
people
of
a
places,
sense
yes.
of
Remember that social media plays a big part in this book,
yes.
where it hadn't as much in the trilogy. It is the thing that spurs the rumor, the gossip, the innuendo that causes this big fracas. This is from chapter 3. I'm talking in general about professional football.
Okay.
By that I mean the NFL. Professional football can be a vicious business. Each of the 32 teams has its secrets, some benign and others as unethical as a sport will ever know. The NFL has well-defined restrictions and a clear vision, but the organization cannot discern every indiscretion within its purview. It responds to reported allegations, yet some slip through unless they become known through nefarious means. And then I go on to talk about what some of those are. I've marked another place.
Okay.
This is on Jamie Longoria, who is the defensive coordinator for the Rollers. In glitzy Atlantic City, true friendships are rare. The atmosphere the city creates is by nature a dog-eat-dog climate. Indeed, some relationships resemble that of one bone and two dogs. Jamie Longoria and Sam Sheldon were examples of two who shared the same goals. Their relationship thrived on corruptive planning and execution in order to promote their own well-being. Both coveted living the high life, regardless of who it affected or what it took. For Longoria, it meant being hailed as a professional giant. He envisioned himself king of the mountain, exalted for his football prowess, and held by the national television audience as God's gift to NFL football. He was not the king of anything, nor was he held in any higher regard than any other proficient defensive coordinator who did their jobs well most of the time.
All right.
And those are two of the characters. There are a couple of key lines in the book that I'm very happy with. At one point, when Jenna and Mike are talking, he talks to her about her kind heart. And for a person who cannot trust, those words carried her, pretty much turning the events from deceit to shame for what she was doing, although she did not know the extent. Another, when she is found and begins to run to Two Harbors, jots a note down to him and says, "If you forgive me, that's all I'll ever need." Very potent line.
Yes.
He gives her a necklace This is a very gruff head coach who doesn't jewelry shop.
Yeah.
He gives her a necklace with an anchor on it. He knows she has to leave as an actuary because she's a floater between cities. And he said to her, I know you have to leave. And then he goes on to say words that she'll never forget, but I hope you don't drift too far. No one in her life has ever told her not to drift too far.
Nobody ever wanted her
That's right.
permanently.
Because she went from home to home to home. Those words carried her. When she needed the financial resources to make this trip to Two Harbors, she had $40 in the necklace, and she refused to pawn the necklace.
The necklace.
Yes.
So she got there anyway, obviously.
She did. She did.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us where, if someone's interested in buying the book, where can they buy this book?
It is available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Author House, who's a publisher. Because I had a vision problem, significant vision problem, as I started to write the book.
Mm-hmm.
And that vision problem was miraculously remedied, and I was able to finish the book. I decided that not only would I have the formats of hardcover, softcover, and ebook, but that I'd also do a large print. And I'm calling that the special value. I'm just simply directing people to go to Amazon and look for the large print paperback at a very, very good price.
Okay, good.
But it isn't about the price.
No.
It's about the story.
Yes.
Anyone who asks me about the trilogy, Tricia, I say go to the library and get it.
Yeah.
Don't buy it. Just go to the library. They have copies.
And we should talk about the trilogy, too.
Yes.
It's been a while, so let's, because if you're new to people, they don't know who you are.
Yes.
They enjoy this book or may want to read more about that. Why don't you tell us about your trilogy?
The trilogy encompasses 18 years, 1994 through 2012. Again, the epilogue will take it to 2024. So it's quite a span. It's a story of the McGills. She is considerably younger than Mitch. She is a woman filled with grace, and that is the title, Grace Flowing Freely, who starts the Micah Foundation. She marries Mitch, who is 14 years older than she, and they live in D.C., which is hard for Amanda because her heart is really in a town in Wisconsin called Chippewa Falls. That's where she would like to rear a family, not again in this climate of D.C.
Right.
And it covers virtually every major national and international event. So it is fictional, non-fictional, and very well researched, hopefully without my philosophy entering, but I think it does. A couple of people have told me it does. And it's a story of grief and joy and romance, Christianity, terrorism, struggles with terrorism, and finally deciding that what a family needs is a peaceful, calming environment. So there's a lot in that 18 years.
Trilogy.
You will know the McGills if you read the complete trilogy.
Okay.
Yes. A lot of music, a lot of food. My late brother Bernie, whom I miss very much, said, Mayor, why so much food and why so much music? I said, you'll see by the third book, because it diminishes considerably. Yes.
Okay. Right. And what inspired you to write those books?
Again, I think it was that I had an idea, and I thought out my characters. Actually, I came up with their names before I thought of the characterizations. But my loves are, besides my faith, my family, my Green Bay Packers, my loves are politics and social justice issues. And the trilogy pulls the social justice issues to the forefront, pulls politics through Mitch, who is the nation's foremost journalist. And to the point where they are so unhappy with cable news as it's reported that over a period of years they developed their own cable network.
Oh, okay.
And that was massive. That had to be very carefully researched.
Oh, yeah, I
Yes.
bet. I bet. That would be enormous. Well, when you talk about your characters, it sounds like they're your friends or the people who live next door, like you know them very, very well.
That's what my friends tell me. You know,
Are they very much
who
alive?
is this?
Very much alive in your mind?
You know, since I started writing More Than a Game, the McGills are there, but not to the extent that they were when I was writing continuously. And that would be 3 books from 2003 to 2005 or 6. So that was, I was inundated.
Yeah, you were
With their
just
life.
completely immersed
That's
in
right.
their lives at that time.
That's right.
And you didn't start writing until you retired, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had that been a lifelong dream? Did you?
I can remember when it happened. I was an 8th grader.
Ah,
I was taking the bus home. We lived out in the country. And I thought to myself, I want to be a writer. I want to have a job. When the career is finished, I want to be a writer. And I had to retire in 2000. I started thinking about the writing and really got going with it in 2003.
That's great. You've mentioned several places in Wisconsin, and so have you lived there before? You're just very fond of it, vacation there?
I ended my career there.
Ah,
I was
okay.
regional administrator of schools in
All right.
northern Wisconsin for the Catholic Diocese of La Crosse.
Oh, okay.
And I'd been an educator for 34 years.
Okay. So then is
So,
Peoria home?
Peoria
originally?
is home.
So came
When
back?
I became ill, my doctor said, "Where's home?" I said, "Peoria." He said, "Where's family?" I said, "Peoria." He said, "Go. You're finished." So after 34 years, I had to, I guess, change the venue.
Yeah, change the
Go
venue
into
and
other,
go to a different life, but obviously a very productive and rich life.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to have 2 terms with the Southside Office of Concern
Ah.
as we worked on permanent supportive housing for our formerly homeless. And New Hope Apartments on Jefferson is a concrete result of that. But I worked with the board of directors for 2 terms.
Which oddly enough, that was the job I had before this. I don't know if you know that.
I
but-
did.
Yes, telling my TV audience my career here, but I was the director of the Opportunities Foundation for Peoria Housing Authority, and I
Okay.
spent years looking for the building where to build New Hope Apartments, and that was one of the where it ended up was the place I had looked at often and had been rejected, and then I left to come to the library. This is much more when I am able to do housing and that kind of thing. I have a good heart for it, but the library and working with books and making sure everybody has a level playing field
Yes.
to access library information and things was much more fit my abilities than building housing. So, and I was so pleased when that whole project came together. But it's
I didn't know that, Tricia.
yes, that's what I did.
After all of those meetings, all of our board meetings,
Yes.
I know that we were focused
Well, I've
on
been
one
here at the
building.
library for 10 years,
Yes.
and we're digressing very far from your book.
Yes, but
but it does tell why you're able to write in a
Yes.
very realistic way about a child who's been from foster home to foster home to foster home, and what
Yes.
challenges people face when they're not given the solid security of a loving childhood.
That's right.
And you see how people change and alter, and whatever gifts they may have been born with may be
That's right.
taken away or changed.
Well, I'm an adoptive mother
Ah, very
of
good.
2
Ah,
with 4 grandchildren. And my girls were in homes before the age of 6 times and 5 times.
goodness.
So I have that to work with in terms of different things that I've read in their histories.
Things you can understand and
That's
put
right.
into your books. And what do they think about your writing?
It's hard to tell. First of all, I have a younger daughter who had a very difficult time. She's going to kill me for saying it, getting through Black Beauty every single summer in Wisconsin. Shelley, Black Beauty, finish it. She'd go to the library, she'd get it, she wouldn't. And I said to her just this past weekend, it's going to take you a while to read more than a game because you haven't finished Black Beauty. And of course she laughs at that.
Yeah.
I think that they're happy. I think that they're very pleased.
With your ability.
Because they knew that I liked to write, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Well, and I'm sure that we'll be getting more than a game at the library as well that people can read. And
Yes.
We don't have it yet, but I'm sure we will get it soon.
You will have it at the end of this interview.
That's very gracious. And you had asked me for having an author's fair, which we've done in the past, and I
Yes.
don't know, but we'll find out about that. And if we do, that's another opportunity for people to meet and talk to local authors, and we're always excited about that. But thank you so much for taking the trouble to come and
thank
be on my
you.
show. And I'm so pleased that you're able to tell us about your books, and it's always exciting and interesting to hear from our local artists and writers and musicians and the people who are right here with us that are so creative. So thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Tricia.
Sure. There's always so much going on at the library. You can find Marilyn's books and many, many other books by our talented local authors, as well as the art exhibits here in our gallery. In the month of September, we have an amazing exhibit, a collection of Caterpillar magazine ads going back to the very early days of Holt Advertising. They belong to Mark Johnson, who's a retired cat advertising executive, and he's going to have these on display for the next 4 years. So to find out about that, library card sign-up month, band book week, so many other things, just check our website at peoriapubliclibrary.org. We'll see you next week on Information Please.